Ladies and gentlemen, come gather round, come gather round, come gather around.
In this video, we're going to fix some rusty doors on the 61 Apache. On many of these old trucks, you're going to find rust in the bottom of the doors. You can find it easily with an awl, A-W-L. It's like a screwdriver with no screwdriver on it. And you just find yourself a piece of rusty area. If it goes through, it's no good. Blasting, sandblasting can come up with some issues. You might find rust come up through here. A couple judicious stabs with a screwdriver. That's no good. That ain't good. We got to fix that. We're going to cut off the old door bottoms. We're going to weld in a new door bottom. We're going to weld in a new skin on the bottom of the door. We're going to discover that it's a piece of crap and doesn't fit, and then we're going to cut it out, and then we're going to make our own. So stay tuned.
I may have mentioned more than a few times that I can't stand doing bodywork, but I do like this truck, so I'm going to try and make this nice, just because I want it to last and I don't want it to rust. This is a crease from the door opening too far, because the door stop opener too farinator was broken, and the door swung wide, hit the fender, and creased it. You'll see this on a lot of older trucks like this. I'm trying to slap that crease out after pulling it with a stud gun. I'm learning this bodywork stuff. I'm getting better at it, but I'm by far a rookie. Don't think of this as the Bible. This, however, is a slap file, or I can't remember the other name for it. I just took an old file, heated it, bent it, cut the tang off of it, and use it for plenishing to try and get a smoother finish. And it does a nice job of gently persuading things. It's not your go-to from the start, but it is the one you want from the finish. The door bottom on the driver's side was rusted through in a few little spots, but it looked like it rusted through not from rust from the inside of the door, but rather rust coming up through the hole in the floor of the cab. The new bottoms didn't have any drains, so I spent a bit of time making a hammer form so I can shape some drains into the door bottoms, just so that it doesn't rust out so badly in the future. Trying to make it fit nice, tack welded it, checking and plenishing and trying to get a perfect fit. I'm still trying a bunch of different ways to attach the panels, and I'm not totally loving anything yet, but I will eventually dig my rut and be happy in it. Then I oxyacetylene the bottom on. The idea is the gas welding heats it up gradually, cools it gradually, and there's less warpage. And if there is, it plenishes easy because it's soft. Okay, now things really went bad for me in putting on the lower skin. In preparation, when I blasted the door, I tried to get as far into it as I could. I rolled about 3 coats of epoxy primer. I also fixed the West Coast mirror holes that I guess the mirrors were so big and floppy they fatigued and cracked the door, so I had to put a good sized panel in there, and then hammer it and plenish it and shrink it to make it fit nice. And then hung it up outside to spray down a couple coats of epoxy primer. I usually do 2 coats just to make it look nice. Now, things just plain went wrong in putting that lower skin on, and I'm not going to show you all the details of what I did because I undid it all. I ended up with a decent looking weld, but for whatever reason, it got a valley in the very middle of it. And it's either I screwed up on the welding or inexperience.
This is my French wheel. What's a French wheel, you say? Well, it looks just like an English wheel, except you use a lot of French while you're working it. I confess I don't really know what this is for. It seems to move things up, but I never really figured out what the purpose is. I'll figure it out. Leave a comment below if you can tell me what the heck this is for. It works for me. This is an inner tube from a 7.5 by 15 inner tube. You can put it over the wheel and it can give you a better finish on the wheeling.
When I finally gave up on the bottom door skin and I cut the whole thing off, I figured I'll just make my own. I mean, I've got these tools, I might as well learn how to use it. So, English wheel to get the curve, and I just tried different radii of wheel till I got the thing into a curve that I think I liked. I don't think I've mastered the English wheel yet, but whatever. You know, it's just like falling off a bicycle. Eventually you get good at it.
Bead roller is one of my favorite tools. It's kind of fun. You get to be a little creative with it, and there's some modifications you want to do to this to make it work better for you. Instead of a wrench, and a bolt. I just put a T-handle onto this. I think I made my own threaded rod. I can't remember. I added some reinforcement in here at the recommendation of a buddy who runs burrfabrication.com. Link below to that guy's cool website. Reinforced with a bit more metal here just to keep this thing from flexing around. I'm going to be using, for the most part, tipping wheels. I've made this one a while ago. It's just made out of a gear sprocket and a sprocket hub from Princess Auto. Rounded this, and this gives you some nice shape. To fold the edges on the door skin, I'm going to use this tipping die I made the same way. I just made it a lot sharper. This will give me a crisper fold, and you're going to have that squish against a skateboard wheel. Seems to work pretty good. I'm also going to use a little bit of a washer down here as like a backstop for the wheel so that I can set the depth, and it's kind of like a guide or a fence so that I don't have to think so much as I'm running sheet metal through. That makes it a bit easier for me. So yeah, skateboarding meets metal fabrication. Oh yeah. I do love putting all my tools on a post. I can move it around, man, it's awesome. And instead of the silly hand crank, this wheel, freaking brilliant. Oh my gosh.
Once you think you're happy with the level of disappointment that you can muster with these various sheet metal tools, you might as well get the thing ready to go. So a few little tweaks and adjustments, and then I think I folded the edges over. I think I used the bead roller. I know I did for one of them. Yeah, there I am, using a tipping wheel to get the thing over. And then when I'm happy and it's joyous, I make sure it fits, 0 gaps, as much you can. And then I tried tack welding the whole thing with oxyacetylene, and then I tried to weld it with oxyacetylene, and oxyacetylene kicked my butt. So eventually I snapped, and I pulled out the MIG welder, and I just MIG welded it. I mean, I lost it. So there it is, forget this, sparks. Then you can fold the thing over with a dolly, and I actually fabricated my own door panel hammer for this job, because who wouldn't? Fabricated from a beat up old Princess Auto hammer and a bunch of 5/8 round steel. Welded together, man. Oh, by the way, the epoxy melts. That's not so good. If you watch a bunch of the cool YouTube channels and stuff and forums where people do sweet bodywork and they can hammer and form and shape and plenish and get everything so freaking perfect, you can fill your imperfections with a couple extra coats of paint. It's actually disappointing, because my skills are not that. It's at all. I can get it to a pretty good level of filler, and I'm pretty good at filler, but I certainly can't do perfect bodywork.
This is the passenger side door skin. I chose to save myself the hassle of trying to fit the poorly fitting skin. This had a big crease in here, and it's just so hard to get my arms inside, so I just cut the whole thing right off. This is unblasted, and these were actually unprimed and unpainted. You can see a little bit of nut rust at the very, very top from paint that came in through one of the access holes, but there was not much here. These are like just awful. So if you don't want it to rust, you either got to find a way of removing all of that rust, or just make your own. Cut the whole thing off and do it.
So same thing on the other door. West Coast mirrors, big holes, plug them up, weld them up, and this one was also fatigued as well. You can see a sticker on the door from Smokey. This truck used to be a Washington State Forest Service truck, and it came into British Columbia, I don't know, 20, 30, 40, a long time ago. And that's kind of why it was painted green. It's a green lacquer on top of the original orange, and it's been in BC ever since. And I got it from the owner who had it for years and years and years. Same kind of garbage on this side. Tipping die to get a flange on the bottom. Make sure it's straight. Send it through the English wheel until you can't stand it anymore. Watch your thumbs, by the way, just saying. And once you get the shape kind of lined up, we've got ourselves a new door skin. I didn't blast, I blasted the inside, but I didn't blast the bottom of the door inner, because I know I was going to replace it. So I figured, to make sure this fits right, I'm going to make a skin fit the original inner, and then I'm going to cut the bottom off and make the bottom fit the skin. At least that's the plan. It still kicked my butt, because ain't nothing fitting on these trucks. It's actually kind of annoying. Kudos to the people who work on these, because dude, I'm even more tempted to paint it like a satin or a semi-gloss, just so I don't have to get so perfect on the bodywork. But sandblasting, that's fun. I like that. I think I ran the sand through about 4 times, all told. I can't remember. But I see progress, and I like that. So clean it all off, clean it on the inside, clean off the outside. I know you're like, oh my gosh, you're getting rid of that sweet patina. Yeah, I'm going to keep the truck a long time. If I keep it long enough, the patina comes back. The bottom of the doors had a lot of issues, and I kind of learned from the issues on the first door to try and avoid them on this one, which meant cutting slots and tweaking and adjusting because, like, dude. Anyways, you just start buying lots of clamps. Seat clamps, vice grips. Man, do it all. Anyways, don't be afraid to cut. And you'll say, where's a good manufacturer of reproduction parts? Not on earth. You're going to have to cut them and slice them because these trucks were not awesome from new. And I don't know what truck they copied the panels off of when they made reproductions, but they're just as drunk. So expect to cut, expect to make it. Once you think you've got the door bottom as perfect as you can make it, then you're going to trim out. And I recommend just patch in only what you have to. They sell you the whole panel, just patch in only what you need to fix the damage. That way you have less drunk material replacing tipsy material. You just try to save what you got. Anyways, everything inside and outside is sprayed with 2K epoxy primer. And I sprayed as far as I could fit into this thing with the gun. I'm just using a Princess Auto touch-up gun. I really like it. It sprays really nice. But it's small, and I think it was like $20 or something. I TIG welded this once I had the inside all sprayed. I TIG welded this with TIG weld. Duh, that's kind of bright. I did a little bit of MIG on the sides just because it was easy to get to, and there were some gaps because I wasn't as accurate enough in cutting them, I think, or I couldn't reach inside. I don't remember. So a bit of MIG on the ends. It did plenish easily and get itself shaped, and I had less issues with this. It did definitely warp, but it was certainly easy to put back. Anyways, a decent door bottom. I had previously made a hammer form for doing the drip holes, the drain things. Could not find that for the life of me, and I didn't really want to make another one. So I just opened up the vise the right amount and hammered it into the vise, and that worked. So, yay. May not be awesome. If you're going to get down on your hands and knees and look at the underside of these doors while I'm driving it, good on you. So, sprayed it all again, got the skin ready, and then I didn't even bother gas welding or TIG welding. I just went straight to MIG because I know what to expect and I know what I'm going to have. And I had less issues with this being welded on with the MIG. Every tack was done and then ground off, and then the next tack and then ground off, and the next tack and ground off. It makes it a little easier to see what you have. It takes a little bit less heat to burn the next tack in. It just took forever and a freaking day to do it. However, it's probably going to be all right. It's certainly good enough for a good old thick skin of Bondo, which I am good at. And then folding the end over, you may want a good physiotherapist for this. I've got a good physiotherapist. I pay for his BMW. Oh, no, he doesn't have that now because he upgraded. Yay. Anyways, hammer it all down, smooth it all up, prep it for that beautiful last coat of epoxy primer, fixing any little defects, and then spray it at spray. Again with the epoxy. So far, I've used up a gallon. I just bought a second gallon to do more epoxy primer.
If you have to adjust the door, or even after you've done all this work, you got to adjust the door so it fits properly. And lucky for you, nothing on these trucks fit properly. So, tricks that I do to make it easy for you. One, take the entire latch mechanism out of the door entirely. I've got the little door guide. This thing is adjustable up and down. It's at the maximum of its adjustment. Came that way from the factory. That slides into this beast right here, which is not movable. The whole latching mechanism is removed. You'll notice these holes that hold the hinges onto the doors are slotted this way so you can move the door in a direction to make it fit better. Not perfect, I will add. And then these hinges are slotted vertically. So with these, you can move the door up or down, or you can adjust it up this way or down this way. And the bolts that I showed you here, slotted outwards, you can move the door out or in, or you can tip it top in or top out. Somewhere in there you'll find some kind of comedy of adjustment that might work. I like to shoot for this. Try to get the body line here to line up, get the body line here to line up, and here to line up, and here to line up, and the gap kind of even along the top, the gap even here, the gap even all the way down, and the gap at the bottom. Good luck with that.
So let's have a go at trying to align this door. You'll be thankful that I've sped this up, and there might even been parts of adjusting the door that I'm not showing you because it's more of the same and took forever. I did eventually decide, yes, I'm going to change the door gaps. In some places that was welding on a piece of TIG rod, and in other cases it was just building up a little bit of bead, or well, build the whole thing up with bead. And then I would lay down some masking tape, painter's tape, using a dial indicator to accurately position the gaps and make it a consistent gap all the way around. And it took a bit of screwing around with this to get it right. I did go back to the driver's door, and I did a lot on that. It sure took a lot of messing around to try and get these doors to work. Kind of annoying. But it looks nice. They're not perfect, but they're going to work okay. If you have a tendency to OCD, this can be really fun. I actually really kind of like masking, like in preparation for paint. The spraying's fun, but I really like the detail that you need for masking. And so this actually can be kind of therapeutic, and soothing, yes. So, door jambs, looking good. Nice and pretty. We'll have another video coming up in the future on prepping for paint and using what I usually call a Rutland-sized can of Bondo. Yeah, it's like the gallon. Do they sell Bondo in a 20-liter pail? That would be the way to get it, I think. Oh, yeah. I got a lot better at Bondo by doing drywall. Don't do your Bondo with drywall. But there we have it, the doors. And this is the end. My only friend, the end. Thanks for watching.